guys, it's Kayla back again with more Red Knot, and this time we have Shivers, Ghoul. The cover's okay. I really like the crocodile here on the front, and the fact that there is blood. Can you see all the blood coming out of the crocodile's, or alligator, whichever one's mouth? And it's on its teeth, and that looks, I wouldn't want to go near that thing. But, I was really confused by why there are handles on this alligator's butt. And then I realized that it's supposed to be a pool toy that turns into a monster. It still looks weird. Like, the guy kind of knew what crocodiles or alligators looked like, but then just kind of guessed. But I guess if it's coming in life from a pool toy, it's okay because it's not going to be proportionally correct. But it looks weird, but cool at the same time. And then there's really nothing else to speak of except that you can see the moon in the background behind some trees. And the only thing I'll really say about the trees is that they are very, very spaced apart exactly. When you draw, you don't want to do that. You want them to sometimes be closer to each other, sometimes be farther apart, sometimes overlap, sometimes not. There's a lot of not anything of interest going on in the background. Your focus is supposed to be, I guess, just on the crocodile face. Which is kind of sad because you could make this whole thing look awesome, but decided not to do that. How long can you tread water? Matt and Laura's parents build a new swimming pool in the backyard. It's supposed to be a summertime surprise. Well, how's it supposed to be a surprise if it's summertime? I mean, surely your kids are there, so how could they miss it? But as soon as the kids hit the water, a typhoon of terror erupts. Ah ha ha, you're so punny, sir. Cute pool toys come alive and turn very ugly, much like the crocodile on this cover. Wicked wave after wave, so punny, threatens to drown, punny still, the innocent swimmers. I'm sure they are. The calm blue water suddenly changes to a horrible shade of bloody red. Where's a lifeguard when you need one? If it's a home pool, there probably isn't a lifeguard. Like at all. I mean, if you're a good parent, you're out there with your kids watching them constantly just to make sure nothing happens to them, but you wouldn't hire a lifeguard that I'm aware of for a home pool. Perhaps their strange neighbor, Miss Pincher, will come to the rescue. Or maybe she's behind all the problems with the pool. Is everyone doomed to dog paddle to certain death? I'm not giving you that one because that's shit. Swim at your own risk. Chapter 1. Chatter, chatter, chatter. Laura was sick of all the chatter. Here she was, finally on her way home from 6 weeks at summer camp. Oh, well, that would explain how they didn't know about the pool. And still no peace and quiet. All the other kids yelled and screamed and hopped from seat to seat on the old bus. The motor roared loudly and banged and pinged and sputtered. Whoa, hold your horses there, Mr. Spencer. You kind of need to take a breath sometimes. Every time the bus went over a bump in the highway, and she was sitting right over it, next to her best friend Tiffany. Okay, so you were sitting over the bus? How big are you? Are you a giantess? How can you sit over the bus? I know she means over the seat, but she doesn't say that. Vague phrase. Next to her best friend Tiffany, who seemed oblivious to the noise. Laura couldn't take it any more. Paragraph break. Hey, be quiet, she yelled at the top of her lungs. Why is there a paragraph break there? That should be all one paragraph. Also, she couldn't take it anymore. Why is there a period and not an exclamation point? Oh, Laura Massey? Oh, Laura Massey, you're such a wimp, Tiffany yelled back. Why, you're sitting next to her. There's no reason to yell unless you can't hear each other. Well, if she's riding on top of the bus, down the highway, maybe she can't hear them. Because traffic must be very loud, not to mention the wind whipping past your ears. You've been complaining all summer, and I'm tired of it. We're almost home. Then you can go to your room and lock yourself away. And read those stupid books, because books are stupid. That's why you're watching this show. Technically, you're listening to it, but you know what I mean. At first, Laura had thought camp sounded like it would be a lot of fun. It was a special swim camp and a new aquatic center at the university. It was a long way from home, nearly 5 hours. Damn. She would have to sign up for the full 6 weeks. But she was 12 now, old enough to be away from home for that long. Not necessarily. And all her friends were going, the entire 6th grade swim team from Rockdale Middle School, which I'm sure will play no importance to the rest of this book, so this information is pointless. So she had counted down the days, packed her bags, and headed off to camp. But it didn't turn out to be nearly as much fun as she expected. The girls had to sleep in dormitories, big tall buildings on the university campus. Well, yeah. The swimming was more like work than play. College students blew whistles and shouted orders at them all day. Laura had to swim about 1 billion laps. Well, it's swim camp. It's not... it shouldn't... granted, I've never been to camp. I've never been to any kind of camp. But there's going to be exercise and things involved. They're not going to let you just play unsupervised. She was so tired at night she didn't even feel like talking, but that's when Tiffany and all her friends seemed to just get started. They stayed up late every night, whispering and giggling. It kept Laura awake, and she got homesick for her quiet room, her bed, and her family. She couldn't understand why the other girls didn't miss their parents. Guess they thought they were too cool. Or some of them might not get as lonely as you do. Maybe they leave home more often than you do, so it's not a big deal. I don't know. Why don't you go ask them? Now here they were on the bus, finally going home, and they still couldn't keep quiet. Laura pulled a blanket over her head. Where did you get it from? To filter out the noise. She looked out the window and felt her heart jump. There it was, the Welcome to Rockdale sign right up ahead. Home. She was finally home. Well, no, you're in your city, but you're not home. The old bus turned left onto Main Street and roared past Laura's favorite places. The city park, the mall, her school, because your favorite place to go is school. Yeah, I'm sure it is. In the parking lot, she spotted her family's green Jeep. The parking lot of where? The parking lot of the city park? The parking lot of the mall? The parking lot of your school? The parking lot of parking lots? What parking lot? I assume school, but you're not really telling me. Again, it's vague. In the parking lot, she spotted her family's green Jeep, because we have to have a name brand car. There was her mother, Patricia Massey. I already know what your last name is. You could just say Patricia. Standing right next to it. Exclamation point, because what a shocker, she's standing next to the Jeep. As the bus lurched to a stop, everyone scrambled to get off. Stop it, Laura cried. Why? Why would you say this? But it was no use. The girls grabbed their bags and shoved each other until she was the last one in line. Just wait until all these other idiots get off the bus. Then you can get off the bus with little hassle. It took about 10 minutes. I don't know why it would take that long. But finally, Laura managed to get her suitcases together and stepped down into the familiar parking lot of where the fuck it is we are. Her mom ran over and hugged her, because of course she would do that. Oh, honey, she said, covering Laura in kisses. Your hair has gotten longer. And look how tan you are. Laura and her mom gathered up her things and threw them in the back of the Jeep. Okay, so she went to a college for the summer camp, a university. It didn't say if the pool was inside or outside, and the local pool here is an inside pool. How can you get tan from that? Unless you're wearing fake tan. If she's tan, I have to assume it was an outdoor pool, but that's something you should really say if you're not... I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but if you're going to say a character is tan, you should mention that it was an outdoor pool and that the character spent a lot of time not swimming, but busy getting a tan. Laura and her mom gathered her things and threw them in the back of the Jeep. Laura opened the door on the passenger side and smiled. There waited Sammy, her pet terrier. The tiny dog had curled up in the front seat and gone to sleep. Aww. Though I'm surprised all that commotion didn't wake him up, like he always did on car trips. When he saw Laura, because you woke him up, I suppose. I would try to make sure he stayed asleep because I wouldn't want to bother him. He jumped up on his skinny stick legs and danced around. Oh, Sammy, Laura cried, sweeping him into her arms. I'm so glad to see you. Sammy licked her face. Hop in, Mom said. We got a surprise waiting for you at home. What? What is it? Laura said. You'll see, Mom said with a sly smile. It's something you've wanted for a very long time. It's a surprise. What is it? I'm not going to tell you. It's a fucking surprise. Get in the damn car and let's go. Chapter 2. What could it be, Laura wondered. A new bike? A new computer she had been dying for? Or maybe her dad had finally gotten the motorcycle he had picked out 2 years ago. I'm not going to tell you, Mom said, pulling the Jeep out of the parking lot. You'll see soon enough. She just said that. Whatever. Laura was so excited about the surprise, she nearly forgot to wave goodbye to Tiffany and her other friends who were piling into cars with their families. But that's okay, she thought, with nothing to indicate that she's thinking this. I've seen just about enough of them this summer to last me a lifetime. How dick of you. They drove through town. Laura had never been so happy to see any place in all her life. Rockdale was a small town, of course it was, nestled in the western Carolina mountains. She had lived there all her life. Most of that time, her family had lived in a big old house downtown near Main Street. It was the house her dad, Bob, had grown up in. He was a lawyer with Chemcorp, a big chemical company in town. But earlier in the summer, right before Laura went to camp, they had bought a big new house in a subdivision on the outskirts of town. Laura's mom was a real estate agent. Notice that everybody in the Shivers book always come from families that are very well-to-do. None of them are struggling families. None of them are poor. They all have, decent money, so they don't have to really worry for anything at all. She sold houses to people. Well, no shit, that's what a real estate agent is. And was always on the lookout for bargains. When this house came on the market, she loved it so much she bought it herself. It was a cool house, not old, like the one on Main Street. This house was so new it had a big kitchen with a huge counter in the middle, tall vaulted ceilings, and even a jacuzzi in the bathroom. Ooh, nice. I wish I had the money to afford that with a lawyer father and a real estate agent mother. A giant deck wrapped all the way around the back. Laura had her very own bedroom with a door that opened onto it. So did her brother Matt, who had just turned 14. And there was a big backyard with plenty of room to play. Laura couldn't wait to get home. It seemed like it took forever for the Jeep to climb the steep hill leading to their house. But there it was, finally. Laura hopped out of the car with Sammy right behind her. She ran up the front stairs, flung open the door, and headed straight to her room. As soon as she saw her yellow bedspread, she ran and jumped onto her bed and snuggled down. Sammy hopped up on the pillow and nuzzled her neck. I guess you're happy to be back. It was Mom, standing... Why not just say, Mom said, standing in the doorway, instead of, it was Mom standing in the doorway? Unless the dog magically talks now. You bet, Laura grinned. She hopped off the bed and walked to the sliding door leading out to the deck. With a quick pop of the latch, Laura shoved the door back and stepped out into the warm Carolina sunshine. She looked up into the blue sky, closed her eyes, and breathed in the familiar smells of home. Suddenly, someone grabbed her from behind. So we come home, and we immediately go to our bedroom, totally not wondering about the surprise, or asking to be shown it, or anything. We just immediately go to our room, crash on the bed with our dog, and then just go onto the deck. Because. Then being grabbed by someone from behind. Chapter 3. Laura clawed at the two hands that covered her eyes. Hey, wait a minute. You said she was grabbed from behind. You didn't say anything about somebody putting their hands over her eyes from behind. Liar. She could tell from the touch that they belonged to her mom. Stop it, Laura cried, wiggling to pull free. Calm down, Mom said. I didn't mean to scare you. Okay, I'm sorry, but as much as I love my mother, if she, put her hands over my eyes suddenly, not only am I gonna freak out, I'm not gonna freak out, I'm gonna stiffen first. My entire body's gonna go stiff. And then I'm gonna be like, who's that? Because I'm not gonna be able to tell that's my mother's hands. I mean, it might be kind of obvious after the initial panic wears off, but why would you do that? Also, why would you wiggle or some shit? What's the point of putting your hands over her eyes anyway? But don't open your eyes until I tell you. Laura stood on the deck, the sun beaming down on her face, her eyes closed. Didn't she already say she closed her eyes before her mom did that? Yes, she did. So, why not? I mean, if she's going to eventually see this from the deck anyway, why tell her to do that? Why not just wait for her to look around and notice it? Laura stood on the deck, the sun beaming down on her face, her eyes closed. Okay, 1, 2, 3, her mom said. Open them. Wouldn't she already notice this? Why wouldn't her mom stop her and say, don't go out on the deck and look until I tell you to, okay? If she hasn't noticed by now, that's still a surprise. Just wait. This is stupid. Laura blinked and looked over the yard. There was something there she hadn't seen before. It was blue and shiny and very out of place. Why can't you just say, oh my god, it's a fucking swimming pool? Why do we have to be vague about this? Why not just have her go, or better yet, you could have her say, she gasped, and then she turned around with a smile on her face and ran out of her room downstairs and went right outside to the new swimming pool they had. Ooh, swimming pool, yay! Is that hard to write? She walked over to the railing and leaned over. She couldn't believe her eyes. A swimming pool, sitting right in her very own backyard. Oh, Mom, Laura squealed. Surprise, Mom said, hugging her. We started building it right after you left for camp. We were hoping it would be finished before you got back. It's not quite done yet. There's no water in it, and then how is it shiny? How is it blue and shiny? I mean, I guess the tiling at the bottom of the pool could be shiny and blue, but I don't really see how it's shiny. There's no water in it, and there are still some last-minute things the workers need to do, but they should only take a couple more days, and you'll be able to swim. Laura couldn't believe it. Ever since she was a baby, she had taken to the water like a fish. In fact, that was the nickname her dad called her, Miss Fish. In preschool, she couldn't wait for spring when her teacher would take all the kids to the baby pool in the park. From the time she first took lessons, when she was 6, Laura had been able to swim better than any kid in town. She had joined the swim team when she was 7, the youngest kid to compete. She won nearly every meet. Of course she did, because she has to be fucking amazing. Can't be like a normal child. And spent most of her free time practicing her strokes. This pool wasn't as big as the one in the city park, but it was hers. Laura studied the empty hole. It was covered with blue and white tiles. The deep end looked at least 10 feet deep. A diving board stuck out over the side. A big patio surrounded the whole thing. dotted with brand new lounge chairs and a big table with an umbrella over it. Then Laura noticed something else. Off to the side was a round hole with bench seats in it. A hot tub! I'm going to get a closer look, Laura told her mom as she ran back into her room and down the stairs. She dashed through the basement out into the garage, passing her dad, who was tinkering on the car. Hey, what's the hurry? Dad yelled. Don't I even get a hello? Hi, Dad, she called over her shoulder as she raced into the backyard. She ran to the shallow end of the pool, got down on her hands and knees, and poked her head over the side. Then she froze. There, staring back at her, she saw a black, beady pair of eyes. No, don't read this. It's not interesting, and again, we could cover all of this in one chapter. I don't know why it's broken up into 3 chapters. There's nothing worth a chapter break here. There's nothing that really catches my eye or seems to be interesting. Maybe the rest of the book is good, but based on the first 3 chapters, the answer is no. I would not recommend this. Definitely not as interesting as the first book, and, well, you know my thoughts on the first book already. So, I'm Caleb, and this has been Red Knot. Thank you for listening. Bye! Laura couldn't believe her eyes. How could this be? Yesterday the pool was a yucky mess. Now it looked as if nothing had even happened. She raced back into her room, down the stairs, out onto the new patio. Hi, honey, her mother beamed. Her dad came to life. What? What? Was he dead? I'm pretty sure he wasn't, because he was there in the last chapter, and he definitely wasn't dead.